Hi, my name is Nicole Cutts, and I'm a clinical psychologist and organizational consultant. I also do executive coaching. So I've been wanting to make this video for a while, and trigger warning, it's about trigger warnings, which I find very triggering. And I was reminded about this tonight when I was listening to the Moth Radio Hour. If you're not familiar with it, it is a program where people tell stories and they are true as affirmed by the Storytellers, and they're always very interesting. I really love the Moth, and I'll post the link to the show that I was listening to. Before the first story, the announcer said, gave a warning, like a trigger warning, to say that, the story does contain references to sex in the context of marriage. I was like, okay, fine. And then this woman tells this story. There was nothing salacious about it whatsoever. But then there is another story being told by a gentleman who is an African-American gentleman who was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, prior to the burning of what they call Black Wall Street in Tulsa. And if you're not familiar with that, it is when the certain people in the white community who were enraged by the success of the black folks went and burned down the entire town and killed, massacred people, and they never recovered their homes. Many people fled, they ran away. It was a horrible, horrible thing that happened in our history. And they didn't really talk about that incident, but the gentleman was talking about his grandfather, and he was saying, what a proud man his grandfather was. His parents were divorced, and he was mainly raised by his grandfather. So one day he was with his grandfather, and they were stopped by the police. And he said he stayed in the car until he heard shouting. When he got out of the car, how the white policeman proceeded to beat this man with a club and was describing this scene, which I found very upsetting. And I've noticed, so this is what I want to say about trigger warnings. There are so many references that I hear to violence against Black folks that is said as if, that is not particularly triggering to people. Now, I don't know who decides what is triggering and what isn't. I hear this refers to suicide, this refers to sexual abuse, warning. I have yet to hear in any stories or any of the shows that I listen to, I have yet to hear anybody say, hey, can you come and sit down, please? I don't know why all of a sudden you're being so spunky. Thank you. I have yet to hear anybody say, warning, this story contains references to racially motivated violence or hate crimes. And I don't know why that is, because I find it very upsetting. I was enjoying these stories, and it's not that I wouldn't listen to it, but it's just noticing that certain things are considered triggering and traumatizing for people, and that other things are just completely ignored. Now, honestly, my feeling on trigger warnings is you can't cover everything that's triggering for everybody, So, and I'm not saying don't have them, but I'm saying be more aware of the fact that whilst one thing might be triggering to a certain group of people, it might not be to another, and vice versa. So I just wanted to make this comment because I think that it speaks to people's general lack of awareness sometimes of things that they might take for granted and not realize that people who are different culturally or racially or in terms of sexual orientation, that they might have a different worldview. A part of being culturally competent is to be aware of the histories and the experiences and the worldviews of people who might be different from yourself. I think that a lot of these trigger warnings and lack of trigger warnings are indicative of a lack of cultural knowledge that you need to be familiar with other people's histories. When I hear about a proud African-American man getting beaten by a club, I can't help but think about my family members and friends. This gentleman who was talking sounds like he was a bit younger than my father, who would have in fact been 93 today. He was born in 1930, but his story had a lot of similarities. I can relate to the people in the story. And he was talking about his grandfather. While I never met my father's father, I know that he grew up with him. So when I hear stories like that, that is who I think about. I think about my family, I think about my friends. And I think that whether it's referring to something in the past or whether it's something that's going on currently, like somebody being gunned down or arrested or shot purely because of their race or their gender or gender identity, whatever it is, that's going to have an effect on people that some people might not be aware of, and they need to increase their awareness by helping themselves be more culturally competent by working on their awareness, their knowledge, and their skills. And I'll put some of the information to the Moth Radio Hour, to the show I'm talking about, and to the 3 components I mentioned about cultural competence in this text. And please feel free to leave your comments about trigger warnings or anything else that might come to mind for you as a result of watching this video. So thanks for listening, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.